This is the third video in our series about health equity for environmental public health practitioners. In the first two videos, we learned about health equity and identified some of the social determinants of health. Health equity. In this video, we will consider how those social determinants arise in different settings of environmental public health practice. You may notice how social determinants create barriers for individuals in inspection scenarios. Although there are minimum public health requirements to consider, what can you do as an EHO when external factors affect the settings where you work? Food premises. A wide range of social determinants could come up for staff or owners of food-related businesses. This is an area where environmental public health professionals interact with a broad cross-section of citizens. Access to cash to pay for necessary repairs or equipment upgrades can be a barrier for some business owners. As an EHO, you are responsible to ensure operators are practicing safe food handling. You may also consider the implications of closing a dilapidated restaurant in need of major repairs when an entire family depends on it for income, or where it may be the only place that some community members can get a hot, healthy meal. We described in the last video how cultural differences can affect communication between an EHO and a business operator. Experiences elsewhere may mean that some people fear that you are only there to ticket or shut them down. They may not know that you will work with them to ensure safe food practices. Language barriers also make communication difficult. It is challenging to explain a public health rationale or give detailed instructions when you don't share common language. People may also struggle to understand why the way they prepare certain dishes in their home country is not accepted in Canada. Culture also has a big influence on communication style. Some cultures, including many of Canada's Indigenous peoples, have norms and protocols for communication that might differ from yours. It's important to consider how people like to be addressed or how they handle tension, and to be flexible in your communication style. Culture, gender, and past experience affects how people perceive power. You, as an agent of the health authority or government, have a certain amount of power that can lead to different reactions from different people. Preparation and consumption of traditional foods is an important aspect of health for many cultures. These foods or methods may be unfamiliar or may not be reflected in existing food guidelines or regulations. Wild foods or traditional preservation methods may be important at community events or in early childhood, hospitals, or long-term care facilities that serve Indigenous people. How can you support access to traditional foods that may not be accessible from the usual approved sources, especially if non-market foods are the only healthy foods people have? Personal services. Like food premises, establishments such as tattoo parlors or nail salons are owned and staffed by a wide cross-section of people, including many recent immigrants. When people don't comply with sanitation or sterilization protocols, consider whether they really understand the recommended procedures or know why they are important. Drinking water. Language, education, cultural or literacy barriers also affect operators of small drinking water systems. Small drinking water systems, by definition, are located in small communities. In BC, that often means isolated or remote. The repairs, new equipment, or expertise needed to maintain drinking water treatment plants are expensive, and it may take a lot of time to get parts or people into a community. It is also tough to get water samples to accredited testing labs. Weather and other delays in a chain of couriers, float planes, ferries, and long drives can make it difficult or even impossible to get samples to the lab on time. You may need to issue boil water advisories until test results can be verified. Boil water advisories are a burden on residents. Consider creative ways to avoid unnecessary advisories, such as training a local facility to do basic tests. Housing calls frequently highlight the social determinants of health because many of the vulnerabilities that lead to health inequities show up in unhealthy or unsafe housing situations. Regardless of jurisdiction over private dwellings, EHOs often receive calls or complaints from vulnerable individuals about their water or heating, mold or other air quality concerns, bed bugs and pests, sewer issues, or other safety and maintenance issues. As frontline public health professionals, you interact with low-income renters, the elderly, single parents, new immigrants, or people with disabilities who may have difficulties advocating for improvements to their housing. Maybe they have no alternative to their current accommodation and fear eviction if they make demands. How might you intervene or advocate with a landlord or refer people to other services that could help them? The built environment is a relatively new area of practice for environmental public health practitioners. British Columbia has been innovative in the creation of healthy built environment teams of EHOs. This is an opportunity for EHOs to support health equity by advocating for and encouraging healthier built environments in every community. Built environment work is collaborative by nature, so healthy built environment goals provide opportunities to work across sectors to create communities that are healthy for all residents. Built environment work might simply mean providing a health perspective on land use development applications, or you may be involved in more intensive community engagement processes. You might influence the location of industrial developments, transit links to grocery shopping, proximity of liquor stores to vulnerable residents, or access to parks and green space. We can see how the social determinants of health can arise in any area of environmental public health. Think about how these determinants might be impacting the people you work with, and remember that some things may not be obvious at first. There are no easy answers for how to respond when you identify or suspect that social determinants are creating barriers for your clients. Download a primer on areas of EPH practice impacted by the social determinants of health to learn more. Watch our next 2 videos for ideas about what you can do.